Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Fun Fans Podcast. I'm your host, James Diller. With me, as always, my co-host, Bailey Jackson. How you doing, Bailey?
I'm good. Happy Sunday.
All right, we're going to solve all of some world's problems tonight. We have a great show. That's why we're going to play a little vanilla ice, as we used to say back in the day. We're not going to complain about the refs. We're definitely just going to solve the problems, and we're going to talk about two tailgates remaining. And, you know, it's kind of getting kind of sad that the season it seems crazy that it's winding down already. But first, the Fun Fans are a proud part of Greenville Sports Media. The Fun Fans are, if you're a true sports fan, you'd think I never read this before. Greenville Sports Media is perfect for you. You find various nationwide podcasts, the latest articles and other sports media at greenvillesportsmedia.com, who can also be found on all forms of social media, just like the Fun Fans. The Fun Fans podcast is the official podcast for Clemson fans.
And we'd also like to thank Reuben's Food, Sports, Spirits, and Catering, the best wings around, with two locations in the upstate, 1083 Batesville Road in Greer and 11028 Anderson Road in Piedmont, South Carolina. You can find them at ReubenC.com. Reuben's is simply a great place to eat for all sports fans.
Yeah, I hear we may have some Clover fans coming this way Friday night. Is that right?
Heading over to JL Man.
Yeah, so they check them out. Reuben's best wings around, and plenty of other good stuff as well. Fun Fans Podcast is also brought to you by Ivy O'Sullivan Healthcare Services. At Ivy O'Sullivan, they're more than just chiropractors. Since 1977, this family-owned business located in downtown Spartanburg has been helping people with techniques other than the typical twisting and popping that can sometimes make people nervous about trying a chiropractor. I've been a patient my entire life, and I take my own children there as well. If you have an ache or pain, give Ivy O'Sullivan Healthcare a try. And if you mention the Fun Fans Podcast, they'll donate 100% of your initial evaluation cost to their charity of the month. So call them at 864-583-3967 or find them at ivyosullivan.com to feel better and function at your best. Okay, so like I said at the beginning, there's a lot of problems, a lot of problems in the world, and nothing's perfect around here, and a lot of problems with college football. But we are here tonight to solve the problem. So,
okay,
if you remember, we've already talked about the problem of the monkeys that got loose in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
You remember hearing about that? That somebody left the door open in some lab or something.
They found some of them this week, I think.
I hope so. And
but there's still some on the loose.
The solution, apparently in South Carolina, the solution was to release the emus.
Nice.
So apparently several emus were on the loose in South Carolina, and maybe they were helping round up the monkeys.
I'm not sure which one I'd rather run up on out in the woods. That's a scary looking guy.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, all right. The next problem that a lot of people had a couple nights ago, there was this big, I hate to even call it a fight. There was this event in a square ring where these two guys had on gloves and were, throwing punches at each other periodically and whatnot. But there was a constant buffering problem. Did you watch that event, Bailey?
Well, I'm going to tell you that I got home about 11-ish from the football game, and I turned it on. And then when they said after about 15 minutes the fight would start in 30 minutes, I made every effort to stay up, but I was not able to do that.
Didn't happen.
No, and from what I've read and seen, I didn't miss anything.
Well, it was there were a couple of things good and a couple of things not so good, but to solve the buffering problem, so what I did is we're watching it. We're going to try to stay up, and we're checking out the fights leading up to the main event. And sometime between the second event and when the two girls fought, which I heard was the best fight, I fell asleep. But then I woke up.
I caught the very end of that right after they had announced a winner.
So I caught me a little nap. So I was able to watch the Tyson portion. But we did have the buffering problem. But once again, tonight we're here to solve all the problems. I watched it on TikTok. Anything you want to look for, apparently, there were multiple people going live, just showing their screen of the fight. And they were not having any buffering issues, and obviously TikTok was flowing just fine. So looking for a problem, got a problem buffering. Look to TikTok maybe.
Well, maybe
Okay.
I don't know if TikTok can help my home internet today. It's been something's wrong. Spectrum, let's go.
Well, I solved the Spectrum problem by switching to AT&T. Shameless plug. We're not getting paid, so that's all I'm gonna say about that. All right, so here's another issue. What we got going on in college football, just to kind of start funneling into the college football spectrum. They're good. We're just 2 weeks away from the end of the regular season, and there are a couple of conferences with multiple teams that have a shot at making it to the conference championship game. And some of them may play this one, play that one, but they definitely aren't going to end up playing each other. Not just talking about the ACC, but the SEC. Before Saturday, I think they had like 8 teams that were looking at having a shot at the SEC championship game. I think they have that whittled down to about 4 now. But the SEC and ACC have a little more of a problem. And the Big 12, there's still some question marks there. The Big 10 is starting to take shape. It'll definitely, I think when Indiana plays Ohio State this Saturday, the winner of that one, it'll be a more clear path and all. And I got to thinking as I'm watching that, I'm thinking, okay, we've got these big, huge conferences now with no divisions, and that's created a problem where everybody doesn't play everybody.
Right.
And I'm like, I know what the solution for that is. Everybody needs to play an additional conference game. So instead of playing just 8, we need to start playing 9. And that one more game across the board probably make a big difference.
Probably.
And did you know I went to check it out? The Big 12 and the Big 10 already do that. Did you know that?
Maybe. I don't know that I've ever thought about it. I just, the conference situation now, Clemson is in second place.
Yes.
But they're not in the championship game as it stands right now. So
Correct.
if they're not in the championship game, then I don't understand how they're in second place.
Yeah. Current standings versus
right.
What's going to happen 2 weeks from now. So, because, yeah, we're done playing our conference games, and Miami
we're
still
the
has
leaders
2 to go.
in the clubhouse.
Yeah, we're leaders in the clubhouse. That's right. But, yeah, so we play an additional conference game. The Big 10 and the Big 12 already doing that, and their conference champion or who's going to make it to the championship game is looking a little more clear than the other 2 conferences. So we'll kind of wait and see if the ACC and the SEC pick up on that. And if they were to do that, it'd probably take a year to get that straight anyway, I'm assuming, right? It definitely wouldn't change it for next year.
Yeah, I would, because, non-conference schedules are done, for years.
Yeah. So that might take a while, but there's your solution. It's not, don't want to take full credit for that one, since the Big 10 and the Big 12 are already doing that. So another problem, we're not going to complain, okay, but it's been pointed out, every college football show that I listened to and watched on TV this morning, they pointed out that the officiating is it's a different kind of bad. The whole after further discussion thing, when the bottles were thrown out on the field, I think that was Texas, Alabama. And then Clemson had that situation this past Saturday where, they missed a call, right?
They missed an obvious.
They missed a call, but it happens. And
right.
Unless there's a flag, or unless certain situations are able to be reviewed, you're supposed to just go on with the game. But they decided after further discussion, I think there was an injury that gave them time, and they looked up at the Jumbotron and all that stuff. And that's just not, they got it right, but that's a way the rules are stated. That's not how it's supposed to go. Another thing I saw, you remember when Cade ran off the sidelines and got accosted, basically?
Right.
To say they didn't put their hands on him, but they were chest bumping and surrounding him and talking all kind of, I'm sure they weren't telling him happy birthday.
Right.
And I could not believe there was not a flag on that play. But then Louisville, whoops. Well, there's some echo in there. Louisville, the guy tackling, did you see the play that basically lost the game for Louisville?
No, I didn't see that.
So the Stanford guy is running out of bounds, and the guy tackles him, and it's one of those where you tackle around the ankle, kind of, he's got him by his, and he's on the ground, and he stands up with his ankle. He stands up with his leg, being a turd, for lack of a better phrase. We've seen players do that. And I think he gave him a little shove too. But when you've tackled the guy and you've got him on the ground, and then you stand up with his leg just to trip him up more, or whatever the reason.
Yeah, what was it, stuck to you?
Right. So, but they threw the flag on that, and I'm like, so just super inconsistent across. And this was the same conference, so the whole, after further discussion and just crazy missing stuff, I have the solution. Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah.
I need my drum roll. If I had my drum roll ready, I'd have it for you. So pageant rules.
Oh, okay.
Pageant rules. So this is going to solve the problem. Okay. Everybody listening, send this to all your officials, to the committee, send it to everybody. So last night, my school had the Miss GMC pageant. There's my daughter in the blue over there, the one to the left of the screen, not in the middle. So that's all the seniors. But what I want to point out on this picture, if you're listening at home, Bailey, you see the backs of the people's heads in the picture?
Yes.
Those are the judges.
Right.
Okay. So those are like the officials, like the referees.
Mm-hmm.
So college football just needs to take a page out of the book of the pageants. Those judges get all the time they want, right? They sit there and they score. The girl walks across the stage and turns here and turns there. And then even after it was all said and done, they send the score sheets to be tallied. Have you ever been to a beauty pageant, Bailey?
Maybe not.
So you need time to tally the score sheet. So they had musical entertainment.
So it's very similar to a cheer competition.
Yeah. So what they need in college football is, after every play, if the referees are okay with moving on with the next play, that's fine. But if not, if they want to talk about it and make sure they got everything right, they could, college football's got plenty of money. They could just have a musical guest on standby, just play some music while we wait on the referees to decide. Or this one was even better. The tallying got to going so long. This young lady, they were emceeing. She started telling dad jokes while we waited on the.
Nice. That's good. Time filler.
Yeah. And it was great. So all we have to do to eliminate any missed calls, any lack of judgment, we just have to we're not giving the referees enough time, but we just need to have some entertainment on standby between every play if necessary, so they can make sure they make the right call. So,
or we could go to 15 to 30-second commercials, and to eliminate the 3-minute and 30-second commercial breaks that we have. Nothing is more disappointing than seeing that man walk out on the field with the timer.
With the big sign.
Yeah.
He's got the special sign.
At least they tell you now how long it's going to be.
He's sitting there counting down.
30 seconds to go to the bathroom.
So you're saying they should do a 15 to 30-second commercial between every play and then never stop for the full 3.5 minutes?
That would be better.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
Because they do it now in other sports. They just pop up one little on one side of the screen. They do an ad. They do it in golf. They do it in football.
That's what they need to do.
Yep. All
right. So any other, there it is. If anybody else needs their problem solved, just send us an email. We're here for you. We'll figure something out. And the ladies and everybody helping with Miss GMC did a great job last night. So anyway, all right, Bailey. Speaking of the game.
Yeah.
The game itself.
Hey, it's a win, baby.
Dub.
Listen, my daughter cheered up there last time they went up there. You were at the game.
That's right.
It was ugly, and Pitt's defense is outstanding.
Yes.
And we had 2 offensive linemen out, and on the first play of the game, speaking of TV timeouts, we had another one hurt. So they
I
had to
hate that.
shuffle people around. I mean, I I think that's easier if you're playing, like this week, the Citadel, but it's not easy if you're playing one of the best defenses, against the run in the country, pretty
Right.
much.
I hate that for that kid. Obviously, hate that any kid gets hurt, but first start, first play, I told my wife, I said, I bet his family made it a point to go to that game,
Right.
even though it was a away game and stuff. And I heard he actually broke his leg. He might be done for the rest of the season.
He played a lot last week too, but it wasn't as a starter.
As a starter, right?
Yeah, and matter of fact, he was part of the press conference I watched this week. He was interviewed, but it is what it is that time of year, man. People getting hurt. But I thought I am so happy that Cade Klubnik ran that ball in the end zone, not just because we won, but because of what happened to him early in the game.
Right.
Those guys, and people can say what they want to about Cade Klubnik. We've watched every game, every minute of every game, pretty much.
Yes.
Dude can play. He can play.
And
he was like, I don't know, 9 for 9, and then the only 2 passes when he was 9 for 11 or whatever the number was, they were dropped.
Yeah, the couple drops.
Yeah.
The only thing, and nobody's perfect. I thought he had grown out of that, and he only did it once. He only did it once, where he was trying to roll and spin and turn, and ended up when he should have just got what he could get or thrown it away or whatever, and he ended up looping around and lost like an extra 12 yards. He used to do that a lot.
But he's running for his life.
Oh, he was running for his life on that particular play for real. But overall, in general, he did well. I think. We're both beat up. Both teams are beat up. You're going into the game, and you're like, well, they're playing their backup quarterback. But then you find out it's like a senior that's been in this program for 4 years.
Who was supposed to be the starter.
He's played plenty. He just wasn't, quote unquote, the starter for this particular year. So it's not like that kid didn't know how to play. He could play. He had a really good game. Their defense had a really good game. And it's like you said, that's a tough – and I got frustrated. I'm not going to lie. I got frustrated. We couldn't run the ball. I kind of am curious, but I'm not going to ask anybody, like, why we didn't try this or that to try to create some sort of a running game. But the philosophy could always be we're going to just run it just to keep them honest, but we're going to throw the ball around because they're stopping and running. That's fine too. But
and a lot of Clemson's throws are like running plays. They're short passes to a tight end posted up 4 yards downfield. So but it was, and it and I know from experience, when you have to shuffle around those offensive linemen, it's tougher to do other things sometimes. Yes. And you don't know if all those guys were comfortable, because you move over to the right side, it's different than the left side. And,
yes.
And I give I'm just, they ran it when they had to.
The 5 starters, like we said, we went into the game. We didn't just shuffle offensive linemen. We shuffled 3 starting offensive linemen, 1 backup offensive lineman, and 1 third-string offensive lineman.
Right.
And then those 5 guys shuffled the positions they weren't used to playing. So,
and they probably only take 8.
Yeah, that might have been about the end of it right there.
They probably only travel 8. I'm sure they have an emergency defensive lineman who can also play offensive line. I think Peter Woods would be a great offensive lineman. Oh,
I'm sure he'd be outstanding. But yeah, I think they did. Like you say, we come out with a win, and like people, you need to go to Pitt. If you've never been to Pitt for a game, go to Pitt. It's a great place. It's a fun little trip. But you will realize, for some reason, the weather is always like it was yesterday. Dreary, chilly.
We've never played well there.
And it's because we don't, we hadn't heard, I'm going to say, a lot about Pitt. Even when they came into the ACC, they weren't in our division when we had divisions. So we didn't play them very often. But Pitt has a history of being good at football. They had a quarterback that most folks probably have heard of, Dan Marino.
Right.
And when you go up there, you realize, they're not some national powerhouse, but those folks like their football. And, think about the Steelers. That philosophy up there, the steel curtain, smash mouth, it's the same in the college with the football fans in that area. It's the same thing. So they're going to line up back in
that area. It's the same in Pop Warner in that area.
Right. So it's not some easy place to get out with a win. When we were there, like you were saying 2 years ago, we didn't get out with a win. So
Right.
it was ugly, and the injuries aren't good, and it was tough. But we coming out with the dub is definitely the most important thing, and that's what makes it the fun is in the winning, right? So it had to be fun if we won.
No, I mean, no, they won the game. That's all. That's all. Just like the Gamecocks, and we'll talk about them in a second. They
Yep.
won the game. That's what they had to do.
Yep. And all right. So speaking of, if you ever go to Pitt, the weather's going to be like that. You might need a little bit of energy. Go to w.gg, enter promo code FUNFANS for 10% off of your Jitterless energy drink. All right. So speaking of some other teams, Oregon, they struggled. If they were on the ropes. Did you see DJ's little brother made an intercept? It was a tip ball, but he INT there at the end of the game to seal the deal. But they were about to get beat by Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a 500 team or something.
Yeah, but it was at Wisconsin at night.
Yep. And they jumped around, and Oregon struggled. So it's if you're a college football fan, it gets tricky sometimes.
I didn't quit. I just had to get up for a second.
All right, Bailey's still with us. BYU.
I'm back.
That's all the excitement in the Big Ten. The Big 12, BYU got beat. So I fell asleep and had another little nap. So I ended up watching that game. And, they're going to fall in the polls. They were undefeated, but now they're not. And that one loss is going to drop them. They're not necessarily a top 10 team, in my opinion, but they're probably still going to play for the Big Ten championship. But,
that's SMU's only loss.
Yep. By 3 points, like a long time ago. Speaking of also letdowns, the SEC, how about the Florida Gators?
How about Brian Kelly flipping out? He told a kid he was uncoachable. I said, holy cow, that's like there's so many of those guys out there. When you look at them and you tell them something and they just don't listen.
So
I feel you, Brian.
Yeah. So that's a segue kind of into my rant, and we're semi short on time. So I'll try to make this quick. If you didn't hear what the SMU coach said last week, it is 100% on point. He's like, why is it when an ACC team loses, the whole conference is bad, but when the SEC team loses, it's because the conference is so tough? And then Brian Kelly comes out in the press conference, and that was his excuse. That was his thing. Florida is not a good football team. I don't care what conference they're in. They're mediocre. They're not bad.
Right.
They're a mediocre team, and you're supposed to be LSU. You've been ranked all the way high this season, and you go to the swamp and you get an L. So he's proven the point that they're just throwing that out there, but for some reason that's acceptable, and I don't understand why. I did a little research, Bailey. Normally you're the research guy, but I did a little research. I went all the way back to the year we were born.
Okay.
So that's 50 years.
Vintage 1973.
1973, aged to perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 50 years, how many national championships were won by current ACC teams? Any idea?
I actually know because it's in the script. 13.
Okay. 13. Okay, so that's over 1/4. The ACC current teams, we've won our quantity. We've won if there's Power 4 conferences, we've won our quota in the past 50 years. Okay, so we add FS, we're supposedly a weak conference. We add FSU. When we added them, they were a powerhouse. Nobody wanted to play FSU, but supposedly we're still a weak conference. We add Miami, a traditional national powerhouse that nobody wanted to play, but supposedly we're still a weak conference. It's all perception and it's all crap. So 19. Now, I'm not saying the SEC isn't better, but that don't make the ACC a weak conference. 19 of the 50 were SEC teams, not counting the two that added. If we go the perception coming into this season, so who's been in the SEC and has won national championships out of the past 50 was 19. But of those 19, 10 of the 19 were Alabama. So is it a good – I've said this forever. Is it a good conference, or you just have one really, really good team?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think I'm not going to sit traditionally, and I'm not going to sit here and argue. I told my son yesterday that the SEC had some good teams,
They do.
and you better be ready to go week in and week out.
That's right.
Now there's some not so good teams, but
That's
like one of our coaches at school, he pulls for Arkansas. I don't know why he pulls for Arkansas. He just said he did when he was little, and he kept pulling for him. Well, Arkansas was better off in the Southwest Conference,
yeah,
or the whatever it is now, the Big 12, because they're pretty good, but they can't beat the big boys in that conference. And then the big boys are beating up on each other. But at the same time, those schools picked to be in that conference.
That's right.
So
well, Arkansas gave Texas all they can handle this week.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. And I think I think there's probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 teams that could win the playoff. And 4 of them are from the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah.
I'm not going and you look at like South Carolina, because we kind of skipped over them.
We'll go back.
They didn't play great last night, I didn't think. But it's like Missouri. It's like Missouri is their Pittsburgh.
Yes.
All right. Because it's the first time they beat them in like 6 years.
Yep. Yep.
And they always give South Carolina fits. And the Missouri kids, if you go back and you watch the play that the Gamecocks scored on, no one looked like they've been through a tackling drill in their life.
Oh, I noticed that. It was awful.
How about at least try to wrap up? Now, I know Sanders' legs are the size of tree trunks, but they're not even trying to wrap up to make a tackle to potentially save a game-winning touchdown. So if I'm watching that film today and they're watching it with me, we got a problem.
Right. Well, let me distinguish between the rant. The SEC is definitely a outstanding conference when it comes to football. You can normally name 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 teams this year that are the ones that are really, really good. But that don't mean the other conferences are weak.
Right. It doesn't just by default mean other conferences are.
Exactly. And, as a whole, not quite as, good top to bottom, but that don't mean you don't have to strap it up and play when you line up against the Syracuse, the Miami, SMU. One guy was making the point that SMU comes in from a group of 5, and now they're dominating the ACC. Well, by happenstance, they hadn't had to play the two other best teams in the conference.
Right. If they had to travel to Death Valley or go to Miami, well, let's see what happens there.
Yeah,
okay,
could be
let's hold our judgment until they play somebody in the ACC championship game.
Roll up on Florida State last year instead of with this virus or whatever in the world is going on down there this year. It could be a whole different story. So, anyway,
they got transfer portalitis.
That's right. That is correct. So anyway, enough about the rant about that. We just got to be happy in our own skin and not worry about. Well, we say we can't. The reason why that's frustrating is because the committee's got to be influenced. I'm not being conspiracy theory and saying that there's some other type of influence that helps them decide who's going to be in the playoffs. Wink, wink, nod, nod. But they feel all the other stuff. If you hear all the time how good the Big Ten and the SEC are, then you can't. If some of that's going to sink in. And I'm sorry. Big Ten, Penn State ain't played nobody.
Right.
You know who Penn State's non-conference games are? Bowling Green and I think Kent State. And the only team they played that's really good is Ohio State, and they lost.
Right.
But they're going to be in the top 5 because they're in the Big Ten. Anyway, all right. So speaking of the SMU, they're probably going to coast into the championship. Clemson.
I think Clemson has a chance. Miami has to play at Syracuse the last week of the season.
Yeah, but I'm just going to be honest. I love Clemson. I'm going to pull for them no matter what, and it'd be nice. But the way we have been playing, I'm worried about beating South Carolina, and anything comes after that will be great.
Right.
And we've said it before. We're not a top 6 team anyway.
Right.
and we'll be, we're a good team. We're a good team, and we need to keep playing. And whatever happens in the postseason happens in the postseason.
Yeah, when they're, we were down there, our third string Mike linebacker yesterday.
Oh man, that was not good.
But it is what it is, and SMU plays at Virginia, and then Cal goes to SMU. Now Cal has lost all 5 games they've lost this year, about less than 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
So they're very close to like getting that win. So you never know. You
never know. You never know
why you play the game.
Well, and it's if you really want to look as far as getting into the playoffs, I honestly think Clemson beat the Citadel. If we beat South Carolina, especially by, let's say, double digits, and don't go to the ACC championship game, we'll have a good resume. So,
yeah,
but I'm not worried. I ain't worried about it. We're a good team. Us moving forward in some playoffs and winning a national championship. That'd be nice to try, but if we end up at the Pop-Tarts Bowl, that'll be a great trip as well.
Who don't like Pop-Tarts?
Best tasting bowl there is. All right. So anyway, we're kind of running short on time.
That before.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. It's basketball season. We'll talk more about basketball as the time goes along, as the season goes. We already talked about the Tyson fight a little bit. One thing I said that was good, I thought, they did 2-minute rounds that made it go faster. So that I thought that was good, but it wasn't fun that it didn't start till after midnight. And other than that, I think we've run out of time this evening. Go Blue Eagles this Friday in the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, got a tough one.
Anything else for the listeners at home?
No, shout out to the Clemson men's soccer team. Lost in PKs today, 7-6.
Saw that.
To Wake Forest. And then the Lady Tiger basketball team's 3-0, but they play the number 1 ranked Lady Gamecocks this Wednesday. So we'll see how much better they've gotten, even though they're outscoring teams by almost 47 points a game early in the season.
Yeah. Playing the Lady Gamecocks, staying within 20 or 30 will be, I think, an improvement.
Absolutely.
From years past, but definitely. Oh, and last thing, this coming Saturday, military appreciation at Clemson when we play the Citadel, 3:30 kickoff. It's always an awesome time. We hope you enjoyed the show. We're wondering what wild animal will be loose next in South Carolina. Enjoy your tailgates, people, and don't hate on the refs. Just give them time to make their decisions. Thanks again for checking us out each and every Sunday. Don't forget to click subscribe on the Fun Fans Podcast YouTube channel, as well as your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on social media, and please share. Reach out to become a sponsor. On behalf of the Fun Fans Podcast, Day Thrill Entertainment, Greenville Sports Media, and Bailey Jackson.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.